So what I've done here is I've gone around and reevaluated the place. I haven't been here in a couple of years, and look at where the drifts of higher conservative level plants are. You know, there's a lot of big bluestem, little bluestem, Indian grass, northern dropseed out here. Those are the main grasses. And of the group, northern dropseed tends to have the most conservative number, meaning less disturbance, more likely to have more mycorrhiza. And I was hoping I could find or remember where the purple prairie clovers were. And there's a couple other ones I forget right at this moment. But I did, because it's easy to find, the seed heads on where the wild quinine and Rattlesnake Master. Those are decent ones to find. They're you know, I think one's an 8 and one's a 9 as far as conservative level. See, this is they hold up well in the winter. These flat layers of wild quinine. This I consider the queen of the tallgrass prairie. See how sturdy the branches are? They have a long flowering time in mid to late summer. Flat top. I think it goes really, and bright white. I think it goes real well with royal catchfly. And then let's see here. Oh, I think the Rattlesnake Master's more down there. Rattlesnake Master is easy to find because its leaves are thicker than the average, or wider than the average, a little thicker and wider than the average one out here. And you know, its name is starts with an E, and then yucca, something like that. But it has yucca in its name because it is reminiscent of the yucca, you know, Adam's needle plant. Very tough. I think deer only eat it early in the growing season, not late, because it's very tough. In fact, they found, I don't know if it was Rattlesnake Master or a relative of it, they found sandals in a cave in the western United States made out of the fibers of this that was dated BC, and they're still intact. So it's real tough. But it's the host plant of the endangered Rattlesnake Master borer. You have to have a population of at least 100 of these in order to support the insect. But anyhow, so Rattlesnake Master, I think that's an 8. It goes 0 to 10 as far as conservative level, meaning 0 is like super weedy, 1 is a little bit weedy, 2 is weedy, and then like 4, 5, 6, that's where you get the ones that are more mainstream, or they're more conservative but hold on later, so it ends up in that 5 range. So pasture rose and compass plant are very strong 5s. I mean, they only first come when it's less disturbance, you know, less weedy, but they hold on after it's turned weedy. Anyhow, so here's another wild quinine. You know, during World War II, they used the plant as a substitute for quinine. That's why it got the name World War I. That's why it got the name wild quinine. So this is a good companion for royal catchfly. And the Rattlesnake Master, I believe, is a good companion for butterfly milkweed, because it's a greenish white flower, and the orange contrasts real well, especially the the thinner, narrower, hairy leaves of butterfly milkweed with the wide, yucca-looking, and it, it has a little bit of barbs on it during the year, not like hard barbs, but like thinner barbs, kind of like you'd see on. There's two yuccas in the east, one more Midwest, one more Southeast. I get the two of them confused on their scientific names. Glaucia is one, and Philomosa or something like that is the other. Anyhow, one of them has some more barbarous ones, and that's what that looks like on the leaves. Anyhow, so the big bluestem, Indian grass, and switchgrass are ones that will tell you you're getting close to a 5 area, or you're in a 5 area. When you get to little bluestem, it's probably a little bit above, because little bluestem, because it's shorter, can be easily outcompeted by the tall weeds and weedy natives. But then when you see these little domes or tufts, or there's a better word that I need to come up with to describe them, but instead of where the leaves meet the crown and move to the roots, being at level like most grasses and plants, northern dropseed makes these tight tufts, really tight, instead of like a more looser base of most grasses. Northern dropseed makes these tight tufts to the point where dirt, like an organic degree, builds up in them, so it's actually a higher level than the surrounding ground level of the prairie, to which it ends up a good spot for ants to have their homes, because it's guaranteed going to be above the ground level for in case a rain comes. So a lot of times when you go through a prairie, a pristine prairie, you'll find one of these tight clumps. You don't want to run through here when these are there, because very easily, your foot hits here and goes to the side, and you could sprain your ankle. But very often when you see these during the growing season, not when it's dormant, 1 out of 5 that I need to take better count of the proportion of it, but I guess 1 out of 5, if you go in there and like shake it, you'll have all these ants come out, because it's a very nice place for the ants, because they're they build the mounds before a rain come. They don't have to worry about that with a northern dropseed. And it ends up being kind of hollow in spots, because not all the organic material can fall through, because these tight tufts hold it up above. So there's hollow points in there. And I've seen some nice, I've seen, I think it was nodding onion, hoary puccoon, and finger coreopsis all grow in the tuft, because there's enough organic material there and dirt, and they find a way to get their roots farther down, in case there is a big drought there, so they can kind of grow in the tuft mostly. Anyhow, it's interesting to see. But so when I'm collecting the soil inoculant, I want to find a wild quinine. This is probably the goldenrods, I think. This might be grassleaf goldenrod. And this is one of the sunflowers. I don't know all the sunflowers very well. I know woodland and the downy woodland one. I forget the proper name for that. And then sawtooth sunflower, tall sunflower, but an annual sunflower, of course. But all the other ones in between, I haven't really bothered to learning them too much, because all the perennial sunflowers are not really good for residential or commercial landscaping because of the aggressive root systems. And I've always concentrated more on ones that can be done in a landscaping, so I'm more on the landscaping side than the restoration side, because I've actually been trying to bring restoration concepts into the urban landscaping. Anyhow, that's what that big leaf one or wider leaf one was. That was a type of sunflower. That was a type of goldenrod. So, as I was saying, I'll find a northern dropseed, a Rattlesnake Master, or a wild Quinine. Dig at the base of the ground and look at what kind of soil. Of course, it's probably going to be really friable, sometimes granulated in like square granules if it's clay soil, because I'll get into that in another video on how I figured out how it works to get around the poor drainage of clay. But this section here, this is mostly loam, silty loam, all along this edge of this railroad track, except a little bit by that tree to a little bit before the big sign. There's a change in the soil structure. And I noticed it when digging at the base of plants and stuff. But to see if this was just my imagination or it was just not really that much of a solid line, it just blended, something along that lines. I looked at the soil survey of this area, and there's a definite, distinct line that goes through here, because it'll go like, and I followed the level lines, and there's there'd be a letter and 3 numbers labeled on the soil survey that will relate to a type of soil, like Clifton silt loam or Ashcombe rocky clay or something. Like there's different terms for each one, and there's a drastic distinct here, and then it goes back around on that side, and then that same type of soil spurs up like half a mile over there, and then next to it gets really sandy enough that there's some aspen over there, and then past that it goes back to the clay silt loam that was originally down over there. Anyhow, the point of all that is I need to find the most original undisturbed portion of the prairie to get the max amount of mycorrhiza possible that could be in the soil. Now, mycorrhiza is the fungus that attaches to the tips of most late succession prairie plants. And mycorrhiza also is important in oaks and pines. But I want to make sure that my dirt, because I don't use inorganic fertilizers. I only use organic and coffee grounds, ashes, bone meal, those like the main 3, but other things too I add in there. But I want the dirt that I use not so much for the annuals or the early succession prairie plants, but the late succession prairie plants, and of course also the ones that are in the bean family. Even if I do use the nursery bought inoculant specific for that genus of bean plant. And there's a couple other ones that need the inoculant that are not in the bean family or a fixed nitrogen, even though they're not in the bean family. Comes to mind New Jersey tea and stiff goldenrod. They have fixed nitrogen. Anyhow, so what I'm going to do here is I was using a nice shovel, but this is the style of shovel I usually use. I'll have a video about the best types of shovel later on, but this was a good one. I think I was a little bit too rough with it. But of course they're all going to wear down over time. No hand shovel lasts forever. Well, there's one shovel that's never broken but has severely bent, and that would be one that I have that was made in West Germany. But I don't use that one a whole lot, so maybe that could be part of the point. Anyhow, so this here is Northern Dropseed. See this thick tough. Then this one here, see how this has got an orange tinge to it? And then, so that means it's one of the two blue stems. And then if you go up towards the top, you see that the seed heads, is that there? Where the seed head came? It's little white hairs. Most of the seeds on it are already gone. And I came through and collect some of these just recently. So that's little blue stem. That's Northern Dropseed. And see how this here is wider grass than this and this. And this is more a yellow straw color. This is Indian grass. Go up to the top. You'll notice where the seeds were. Those branches that connect to it. There's a little bit of a zigzag look to it. Just slightly. See that? That's how you can identify Indian grass. So there's an Indian grass here. Two Northern Dropseeds here. And a little blue stem here. The soil, I pulled back the first layer here. Put them there. Now, well, I can't use my hand trowel.